Hello and welcome to Slightly Nostalgic. My name is Griff, and we have watched Firefly Episode 9, Ariel. Alright, this one's not so much a big standout fan favorite, I don't think, but it's one of my favorites. And it has continued to be one of my favorites after watching it again. So, anyway, first thing I noticed in the intro is that Creepy River is back. She's kind of taken a back seat lately. She's kind of just been if she has any major scenes at all in the last few episodes, they've just been, oh, she's doing wacky, crazy things. But now we're back to her being really creepy and a little bit ominous, where she slashes Jane in the chest and then says, he looks better in red. I think it's easy to miss this, but going back and watching it again, it's pretty obvious that she is using her psychic powers either to read his mind or she knows the future or something like that. She knows what's going to happen later where he's going to betray them. But they don't really throw it in your face. It's pretty subtle. They don't call a lot of attention to it. It's just there if you're paying attention. Something I hadn't really thought much about before is how long these people have been on the ship together. They never really give us a solid timeline. But I noticed this time in this episode that Kaylee says she's never been on the Corps before. Or it's her first time in the Corps and she's digging through trash is what she's complaining about. But that means that they're there because Inara is getting her annual exam. So Kaylee must not have been there for the previous annual exam, or I guess Inara wasn't either. So it's been less than a year since Kaylee has been on board, which means I don't know how long it was in between each crew member joining, because they had a different mechanic before Kaylee, so she might be more recent. But at the most, Kaylee's been on the ship for a few months, which, I don't know, I assumed it was longer. I assumed it was like a couple of years or something. I don't know why. But this also makes me wonder how long Zoe and Wash have been married exactly. Because I don't really think of them as newlyweds, but they kind of are, right? Like they've maybe been married a year or less. I don't know. I love the scenes of them memorizing their lines. It was probably really fun for them to do as actors, because I'm sure they have to do stuff like that to memorize their lines for the show. But it was funny how each character came at it differently, and Jane had so much trouble memorizing his. And it was so funny when they finally get there and Mal starts his line and they just cut him off and wave them through. Like, they didn't even need to memorize them. But then Jane, he says his anyway because he was like, well, I didn't go through all of that for nothing. So he says his line anyway, but he says it wrong. He says response instead of reaction. But nobody notices because it doesn't matter. No one's paying attention. It's just funny. It's so funny how that whole scene works out. Random side note, the doctor is the dad from Even Stevens. Every time I see him in something else, I'm just like, well, that's just the dad from Even Stevens pretending to be somebody else. So I don't know why the dad from Even Stevens is pretending to be a doctor in this future hospital, but okay. I like how they had to make him like way over the top obnoxious because of what happens to him. Like they knock him out and I think he gets killed later too, but you can't have some really likable side character come in and then have our main heroes knock him out and ruin his day, so they had to make him a total jerk. Speaking of him possibly dying later, the deaths in this episode are horrific. Like, I'm not usually affected too much by blood and gore and stuff in movies, but man, something about the way the 2x2 Hands of Blue guys kill people with that little device, like the blood coming out of their fingernails and their eyes and stuff, it just, oh man, like I just look away. I looked away this time too, because I just, no. Oh. Something I noticed for the first time this time watching this episode was toward the end when they're escaping the hospital. Simon, like River is kind of leading the way, and Simon is just trusting that she knows where to go, which is interesting because it does kind of confirm that he does know that she's psychic. Like, he knows enough to just trust this mentally unstable girl to lead the way out of there, because he doesn't know which way to go, but he trusts that she does. So that was interesting. Jane, on the other hand, seems to be completely clueless and skeptical that she knows where she's going. So I don't know. There's still some gray area, but I think, based on this scene, I think Simon is just on board with the idea that she is psychic, she has some kind of supernatural mental powers, and everybody else maybe is just kind of on the fence. The last scene gets pretty intense. Mal can be really scary when he wants to be, where he's threatening Jane, and I've always wondered, and I still don't know, if he was planning to actually kill him, or like if he was planning to and he just changed his mind at the last minute because of what Jane said about not wanting him to tell the crew why he died and like to make something up. I don't know if that changed Mal's mind or if he was just trying to get that out of him and was just trying to scare him. I don't know, they kind of leave it up in the air. But we do get another episode where at the end of the day they got to keep the cargo. It remains to be seen whether they'll be able to sell it. They actually didn't tell us the last time they showed them loading cargo onto the ship if they got to sell it. I guess maybe they just sold it without issue, so it wasn't in an episode. I don't know. But that's all I have for this one. Be sure to watch the next episode, War Stories, if you're following along with me. That one might be my actual #1 favorite Firefly episode, so I'm looking forward to that one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.